And you are so right. So I remember, I mean, I know apparently it's changed massively, student accommodation, from when I was at uni. But when I was at uni, it was horrific. The landlord, the product that they provided was absolutely disgusting. It was, it was third world rating. The communication, anything that you wanted to do. I know things have changed now, but as you say, I
didn't know. I mean, there are still 10% of landlords are rogue and criminals, according to English Private Landlord Survey. And certainly some of the houses I've seen that I've been looking to buy, they've been awful. So I think there has been a big improvement, but there are still some really grotty places out there. I walked past them. There was an HMO close to where one of my properties is, and there was a broken window at the top, and that stayed broken for 2 years, despite there's the HMO management regulations, and you're supposed to keep on top of this sort of thing. And it's just been fixed. So I was pleased, because that's the house I'm going to be reletting soon. I'm pleased that they're not going to have to walk past this DOS house. It looks a bit better now.
Yeah. No, you're true. You're right, actually, because I've been looking at a number of HMOs recently, and some of them, one of them was clearly illegal. It didn't have a license. So yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're always going to have, a route of certain amount of rogues out there. But one thing I think that always comes across, and certainly I still have it a bit in the back of my head. So when I first came into property, the thought of being a landlord was I just thought, no way, because all you hear is the terrible. So as you say, there's 10% rogue, but there's also 90% potentially, pretty good, offering a good service, blah, 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 blah. But there is this huge emphasis on how terrible landlords are and how terrible tenants are, and how it's very difficult to look after yourself. And actually, it was a real breath of fresh air when I met you, and you were kind of like, yes, well, I don't want to use a letting agent, and I would never use it. And I was thinking, really? But they're horrific to look after, and it's this, that, and the other. And then slowly but surely, it's really made me kind of go, wow. And it's now given me that confidence to go out and find.
I'm really pleased to hear that, because you get scaremongering from letting agents. That's part of their business model. And so I always chuckle when I get a letting agent calling me up and saying, did you know that there are 180 separate pieces of legislation that apply to landlords? I say, yeah, I'm a solicitor. Take a look at my blog. I've written 200,000 words on it. Yeah. But the thing is that most of it just boils down to doing repairs properly, getting all the certificates. And I think for anyone who is setting out to be a landlord, they should do the NRLA accredited course, which is Landlord Fundamentals. It will get you accredited. It's really cheap. I can't remember exactly how much it is, but it's about £100, maybe even less. And if you join the NRLA, I have a discount code, which is SSAFF15. So SS, Suzanne Smith, AFF for affiliate, and then 15, you'll get 15% off. And do that course. It's online, or you can do it in person, and then all the basics. And so that will help you, because it's not rocket science. You think you can set up as a letting agent without any training, and they managed to do it. But you just got to treat people properly. You've got to do things like register the deposit and understand the difference between the different types of fixed term, periodic tenancy. And we're about to go through a big period of change, and that's where hopefully something like my blog will really help landlords, because it's empowering. Having the information that you have to do it yourself. I have a Facebook group. It's called the Independent Landlord Community. We have 1.7 thousand members in there. I only set up a few months ago. It's landlord only, and I kick people out when they're unkind. It's no assholes allowed. And because you get even like this morning, there was somebody being a bit unpleasant about someone else. Like, you're gone. We don't want that, because for new landlords, you won't know what a periodic tenancy is and a fixed term and all these things. I remember not knowing that, and you shouldn't be ridiculed because you don't know. So it's a safe place where people can ask questions, and there's no selling allowed. And so no deal sources, and no I've kicked out quite a lot of people trying to do that. So, there are things around that can help landlords do it themselves. And with margins so low, who wants to be giving away 15 to 20% of their gross rent to someone else who doesn't really add value? And that's why I always invest local as well. I think it's better to have fewer properties, but invest local, because if there's something wrong, I can just nip in the car and go round. I had a tenant lock herself out the other day, and it's 15 minutes away. I nipped around, and I know you'll get the keyboard warriors saying, you shouldn't do that. They should get locksmith and they should pay it. It's like, she's a good long-term tenant. She's got kids. It's easier for me to nip down there, and then, I get a brownie point, and it's nice to say hello, help out. That's part of being a good landlord. It's not making them go and get a locksmith, and also it happened at the weekend. So letting it after, I think it was like 4:30 on a Saturday, she wouldn't have got the letting agents to go around because they'd have been closed. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm totally with you. I love to hear that you're a fan of local. I always say to people, if you've chosen to invest in property, what have you chosen also to practice to be a taxi driver? Or would you spend like 5 hours driving somewhere to then for the estate agent to cancel the meeting, or for you to, get caught in traffic and you miss it? What a nightmare. So yeah, I mean, it has its place, I believe, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of local, so I love that.
I mean, I think if you're a really big landlord who has their own team, their in-house team, then you can invest all over the country. But most landlords only have a few properties, and so you've got to think of the opportunity cost of your time. If we're in Kent, if you're investing in South Shields, then you can't get there and back in a day. So it means you're going to have to stay overnight. You've got to factor in that cost, and then it's your time, and you can't easily go around to supervise things. And one thing I've learned about trades is that they'll always do what's easy for them to do. They'll put a light switch in the place where it involves the least amount of hassle for them. They won't put it where you need to do it. And so, okay, you might have a plan that has all of this detail, but normally when you're doing refurbs, things come up that are unexpected, and if you're not on hand, you've got to trust somebody else to do it. And my experience of even having work done on our own house is that you need to supervise, because they don't always make the right calls.
Yeah, and what one person thinks is acceptable is totally different to somebody else. Doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong, but you have your specifics that you want for your property, and they might not do the same in their own property. So yeah, no, very, very
good point. Yeah.
So another one, just going back, just to try and alleviate anyone's kind of fear. So we've obviously walked into this chat talking about the fact that you can potentially manage tenants yourself. You could do the whole process, but then you've gone a step further and talked about doing plumbing courses and doing tiling courses. So do we have to do that as well? Do I need to go on a plumbing course because I'm now a bit fearful?
No, of course not. Because there are different ways, the kind of the curve towards doing it all. But yeah, and some people would say that I'm terribly inefficient and that I'm not valuing my time, etc., etc. But so the first step is the first step is having a letting agent find tenants, and then you take over the management and make sure there aren't any hidden costs in the contract of them doing that. And that a lot of landlords do that. Self-managing it, particularly if you refurbish the property and there's nothing much wrong with it, it's not that difficult. You just need to, as I said, do the landlord fundamentals course. So that's kind of step one, and that's what I did. I've always self-managed. And then after a while, when I had problems with the letting agents, I then started to self-let, like you, and bravo to you going straight to open rent. I then started finding my own tenants, and I realized actually it's a lot less hassle, and means I can meet them and I can vet them. It's me with my experience at my ripe old age of 56, rather than leaving it to a school leaver to do the first sift. So, and that's what, so when you self-let and self-manage, and most sensible people stop there, but I just decided to learn a bit of DIY, and I went to a proper construction training center in Dartford last week and did an intensive 1-week course on plumbing. And it's the first, if I wanted to be a qualified plumber, it's like week 1 of that. And I just did that because it's not so much saving money, but and the reason why I'm going to be doing tiling, but it's so hard to get tradespeople in to do small jobs. They're not interested in changing a tap or changing a sink. They don't mind refitting a bathroom sometimes, and then trying to get tilers to do a small job. It was the last thing when I did my last refurb to get the tiler in to do it, and I thought it can't be that difficult tiling. So again, I'm doing this 1 week course, and it's not a huge complicated kitchen, so I thought I'll do that. Metro tiles, they can't be that difficult, and I don't mind if it looks a bit rustic. It will look a lot better than it does now.
You can get these tiles, can't you, that are a bit unlevel, so the whole thing can look exactly how you'd like it to look. So I love that. But yeah, so never fear, everyone. If you don't want to go down the trades route, you don't have to still offer a great landlording experience. Okay, so kind of moving on then. So we've spoken about the fact that you can obviously DIY to varying levels. So it can be from, as simple as, just getting the letting agent to find the tenant for you, right the way through to, to taking them on yourself. To getting the letting agent to do it. So just a little bit more about the letting agent side. So just what do you see as, a great letting agent? Is it, generally having the property mark, all of those kind of things? Or is it, as you say, sometimes you do literally have to try them out before you even know if they're okay?
Yeah, well, it's good to get recommendations, and as a basic level, all letting agents have to belong to a redress scheme. So that's either the not the tree preservation order, which is what Richard said, the TPO, which is the property ombudsman, or the private rented, no, God, I can't even remember what it's called, the PRS, the property redress scheme. That's it. Yeah. Not the private rented sector. So they're the two redress schemes. They have to belong to that. The first thing I would do is to look at their website. Can you find the fees easily? Because if you can find the fees easily, it shows they care about your experience as a landlord. If you have to almost do a Google search to find the fees, because they have to be there by law, then it's, if it's difficult to find the fees, just go to somewhere else. It shows that they don't care about the customer experience. And have a look at the personnel. Have they been there for a while? You can check them out on LinkedIn, and you can Google them as well. But be aware that some of the reviews aren't. They're not always that reliable. I think they don't ask tenants who aren't happy to do it. But doing a mystery shop is good. Calling up, pretending to be a tenant, and seeing what questions they ask. You could just call up for something that's being advertised and see what they ask. I know that I think that some tenants don't screen people. Some letting agents don't screen tenants enough before they come round, and that's particularly difficult if you've got tenants in there already and they're having to have all these people coming through, and then they're not suitable tenants. So. And chat to them and ask what qualifications the people who you're dealing with have, because it may be that the office manager has a qualification but the others don't have, and a level 3 qualification is a good one to have. And you'll see that people will have MALA after their name. That's member of the Association of Residential Landlords Association. That's part of Property Mark. And the agent should be a member of Property Mark, because that goes over and above the law, and it means that Property Mark will look at their accounts and will give them extra scrutiny, and that there are more avenues for redress for landlords. So I'll definitely go for a Property Mark one, but that's just kind of like the first bar. And seeing if you have HMOs, make sure that they know about HMOs, because it's very, very different from single lets. Ask what percentage of their properties are HMOs, and ask some questions about how often they do inspections and what they recommend. Really quiz them, and because you're the customer and you don't have to use them. And also ask for their terms and conditions, get them to send them to you, get them to talk them through. If they won't do that, then go somewhere else and make sure that that you can terminate the contract. You don't get locked in. There are a lot of rent collection agreements, rent management and contracts that are impossible to terminate unless you go the legal route and claim you're a consumer, etc. But then that won't be the case if you're a limited company. So yeah, lots of, it's basically about 3 podcasts worth of content in about 3 minutes.